Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Petal Talk podcast. I am your host, Allison Crowder, and today we have Mr. McNutt on once again.
We're back.
The boss man.
We're back.
Our most favorite episode was with Ryan, so we figured we'd have to have him on again.
Yeah.
I keep saying it's because he's a boy, and the testosterone brings like a different energy, but he seems to think it's just because he's like the best.
Probably just me. So we'll rack up some more views here.
Hi, welcome to Petal Talk, where skincare meets soul care. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
Great.
You were just saying that you guys had your anatomy scan earlier.
Yes, we did.
So
we had
exciting.
that. That was nice. Mm-hmm. It was our first doctor ultrasound. Mm-hmm. So it was good. It was a little intense because it's more of a deep dive ultrasound than what they would because we are considered high risk. Mm-hmm. So they do like a really deep dive into everything. So it's like a 35, maybe 40-minute ultrasound.
Yeah, it's a long time. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of like anxiety too.
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah.
It was intense, but it was good.
Good.
So that was this morning. Yeah, and just filming podcast all day.
I know, podcast. That's
3 today.
3 days or 4. Today, Ryan and I really wanted to talk about wellness because wellness is something that we are both really passionate about.
Yep.
And honestly are not the most like common practices. I feel like we take some of them, not like super extreme, but there's a couple things that we both do.
Some weird things, I think.
That's weird. It's definitely weird, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that wellness is so much more than just like the act. It's how it makes you feel. It's whatever. And I just wanted us to share a couple of those things organically because I think that that's cool. And I love wellness. I'm a big wellness connoisseur. I'm like down to try pretty much anything.
Yep.
And you are like that too.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try the mouth tape.
You have to try mouth tape.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Yeah. Okay, so start with me. Obviously, we know your story a little bit.
Yep.
Both of us, well, they know both of our stories. Mm-hmm. Both of us have had one more than the other, kind of crazy, growing up, kind of adolescence type of times in our lives. And we haven't always cared about wellness, both of us. Will you kind of share a little bit about what your life looked like before you kind of started in wellness or like some bad habits that you used to kind of carry around with you?
Yeah. Health was never on my radar. Like not at all.
Yeah. Same.
Until my 30s.
Yeah.
Like,
How do you know?
It wasn't
41?
Yeah, I'm 41 now. So I would say probably like, early 30s, I obviously became more conscious of it. I spent, a lot of my career was in healthcare. So I was working in hospice and hospitals, right? So that I think really started to open my eyes a little bit where I started becoming aware of it. Yeah, as a child, I grew up in the South. I think I talked about that, right? Georgia, Alabama. So it's like, I grew up on fried everything, no concept of healthy living. And then obviously, alcohol, drugs become a thing.
How old were you when you started drinking?
Actually, I didn't start drinking until I was older. But even in I would say that I probably weed and experimenting with drugs first in late middle school.
Oh my gosh, you're so
young. So eighth grade.
That's kind of
8th grade, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. And then but alcohol for looking back at it, I was more of just even at parties I didn't drink a lot. Mm-hmm. I grew up around alcohol. My dad drank, but I would say probably 18, 19 is when I gradually started drinking. And that became looking back, it was probably an issue. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when I did start drinking, I drank. I'm an all or nothing person.
Yeah, you have a very addictive personality.
Yeah, so then I was always the life of the party where it was nobody can outdrink Ryan, and I had to, I was just the one. And so I drank alcohol, ate like crap through my entire late teens. 20s, the decade of my 20s was terrible.
Yeah.
And then I dealt with some addiction things. So, that was probably more tied towards trauma. But when my dad died, I definitely kind of went off the rails.
Yeah.
So looking back at it, I was 20. I think I was 20. Yeah. Somewhere around there.
I mean, that's tough.
Yeah. And then was on the path to having my first child. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, yeah. And I just went off the rails.
He was also a boy. And that was like that like was hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. So, looking back at that aspect of like being unhealthy, just not even diet stuff, but just alcohol is probably my biggest regret.
Yeah.
And carried it on up until, Jenna and I met on alcohol. Right. And I was off the rails.
I know. It's so funny when I look at photos of you guys from when you first started dating to now, you guys are completely different.
Yeah.
You look, even your body structure, both of you. And there is something, it's so interesting. We've talked about this before, but how society so glamorizes drinking, eating like shit, smoking cigarettes, smoking whatever, drugs, fun, party, yeah, like that is like so normal and cool and fun. But then when you start doing things like following a certain diet or fill in the blank, that's so weird.
Yeah,
you're a runner. You go to the gym. Like, that's so weird. Like, you think you're better than us because you wake up early and go to the gym, and it's like, no, I've just experienced the other side, and it sucks.
It is wild. And I was thinking about it this morning, even because we were in the doctor's office, and we're, even just like food. There was a show, and it was like this advertisement of this meal at one of these restaurants, and it's like there's no. Like, a human being should not be consuming. It was like, get 3 potatoes and there's bacon layered on and barbecue and cheese. And it's like, and I love food, right? So I get that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's promoted and alcohol is promoted and it's completely acceptable, which is always too. What's always been funny to me is we look down on drinking and driving. Yeah, every restaurant sells alcohol. And then you really start to think like, okay, that means 100% of these people are drinking and
what
driving.
Gets me? Similar elk. You know how many bike events are sponsored by liquor brands?
That's all they do.
And I'm like, you're going to sponsor these motorcyclists, pit bike, dirt bike, Harley, whatever, and then pump them full of liquor and then send them on the road? Yeah. That's crazy. Why do you have a bar in the shop when that's so common. So many bike dealerships have bars, open bars, and you're gonna give them all this alcohol and then send them on a bike, like.
And then the events will be like a bar crawl.
Yeah,
so it's like hit all 15 of these bars on your motorcycle.
Yes, and it's like terrifying.
It's crazy.
It
really is wild. Yeah, it really is wild.
It's such a shame.
It makes me wonder. Like, sometimes I think like it's purpose. It's on purpose,
right?
Which is sad.
It is sad.
But yeah, alcohol was like. Man, Jenna and I, when we first met, it was bad. And it's not like go drink a beer, like just getting completely annihilated. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, that was just no awareness of, even aside from alcohol or drugs, just like eating or supplements. And then working in healthcare, you work around people that are dying every day.
Right.
And so then you do begin to start to like think like, dang, man, I really don't want to end up like this in these situations. And so, definitely became more conscious past 7 years.
How old were you when you
6 years?
Like 30?
Well, I would have been, Jenna, let's see, I'm
32.
41. We've been together for 8 years. So what's the math there? 32? I was 32. Yeah. So that first year was a wash for us. Actually, probably the first 2 or 3 years. And alcohol became a problem for us.
Yeah.
Where we knew that's what helped us. Also, Jenna was health conscious from the diet standpoint, even though she wasn't when we met, because she was kind of at her bottom. I was at my bottom. So we were just eating like crap, drinking. But she had the fitness background. She
did fitness and stuff before you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we met, neither one of us were following a healthy lifestyle, but she had the awareness of the diet and gym side of it. And then I had the awareness of the kind of like the supplement nutrition side of it.
Yeah.
So we were able to kind of bring all of that knowledge together.
Right.
And we knew with alcohol, we got to a point where it was like, look, we have 2 options. We can quit drinking or we're not going to make it.
What was that moment? What happened?
Okay. We were at rock bottom, right? So we would get along so good. And then we would just get so drunk, and then we would start clashing and arguing over nothing. Because, you know, she had her trauma. Alcohol brings it out.
Right.
You know, you always hear that, right? Alcohol, because at the end of the day, and this is bold to say, but even if people don't realize that they're drinking to cover something up, you're drinking to cover something up.
For sure. Yeah.
It's just 100%. And I know, and I'm sorry for all of those people who watch this and they go out and they drink alcohol or they like to have their beers every day, but you essentially are, even if you don't think, you're drinking to escape something or you're covering something up. It's just a reality. And then we know that as people drink, you always hear like the drinking makes the truth come out, or you start bringing that stuff to surface. And that's just how we were with our personalities. And so we would just argue over stupid stuff, but we would be so intoxicated. And, but we also realized that when we weren't drinking, there was never any issues. And so that started to uncover. We started to know, like, you know, drinking was the problem.
Right.
Because every night on a Friday night or whatever, we would go out, we'd start off having a good time. And then by the end of the night, we're butting heads. She's mad at me. I'm mad at her. She's calling a friend or a family.
In your right mind.
Yeah. And then they know,
right.
You know,
and then they're involved. And then
God, the phone's ringing at
11
o'clock at night. Jenna's calling. They're drunk.
Right.
It was that type of relationship. So we knew, just seeing that like we sat down one day and it was like, look, it's the alcohol 100%, right? Because if we're not drinking, we're great. If we're drinking, we clash, which is very common for couples, especially, right? It's just typically the underlying thing. And so just realizing that, and then that's when we were like, there can't be any alcohol, period. And that was kind of like the defining moment for us with alcohol. But that was also the first time. This is the not to say I haven't drank in 5 years. There's been the occasional, and I'm still at that point, right? If I go to freaking, you know, we're going on a cruise. Will I have a drink? It's possible. Last time we went on a cruise, you know, I'll normally pick like one night. I'll say, okay, one night I might have a whiskey or something like that. But I am totally at a point where I, you know, can control it. Or there was an event 6 months ago. So not to say that I don't drink at all, but definitely maybe 2 or 3 times a year now I'll have a drink. It's the longest I've ever gone in my life. Being sober, period. Even weed. I smoked weed for 20 years straight every single day of my life.
That's crazy.
Every day of my life. And you stack that on with food and diet, and then obviously getting older, you start to realize like,
totally.
I don't want to be like that, you know?
Totally.
But yeah, so I wouldn't change it for the world. Wouldn't
Really?
Change it for the world. No. And then I do like these new, like, you know, looking back to the healthcare thing, I was always sick all the time.
Right.
I don't know if you've experienced that. Did you, like, since you've have you always been health conscious?
I have always been really aware of food and like food, not like health, but food, what you eat matters, because my mom is not the healthiest in that department. Not that she eats like poorly, but she, love you to death. I don't know if she'll listen to this, but she did not raise us to be mindful of that. And it was a lot of like, oh, it's too late to eat dinner. I'll just go to sleep instead. Or like, oh, I am like so hungry. I'll have like half of a sandwich and then I'm like so full. Or like, you know, I'm starving, but you know what sounds so good is like a smoothie. It's like, that's not really eating though.
Yeah.
And so on the opposite end, I was just really made aware from a really, 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 really early age that what you ate matters and what you ate affects your body. And my mom would make comments about her body in front of me. And then I would think of that as like, well, I have that and you don't like it. Like she would make comments like, oh, my cheeks are so full. My face is so fat. And I was like, well, but I have that. Like that's what my cheeks look like. That's what my face looks like. I get that from you because you're my mom. And I was aware of that from an incredibly young age, probably like a toddler, knowing that like my mom had like a really hard time with certain things, or she would talk about like how short she was or these things. And I just was like really made aware of health through that element, because it was like, how quickly can we change it? What we eat does matter, and actually should not eat a ton of it because it's bad. Like, not that eating was bad, but eating too much is bad. And so then naturally I was ravenous. I was always starving. I've always lived in like a point of being so hungry, because not that we didn't have food, but because I would be like, I'll have like 2 bites because that's like the ladylike thing to do. And I acquired it as like a ladylike. That's like what like feminine ladies do is, and I did ballet and I did dance, and it was like feminine women don't eat a lot. It's sloppy. It's yucky. It's like not appropriate. Now, there was also like no awareness of like being healthy physically, like lifting weights or anything like that, or like being like doing any sort of exercise. And so that was like with my mom from seriously the youngest age. I have memories of that. But then on my biological father's side, drinking from a really, really early age. His parents drank. His family drinks. They're from a really small town. And I was pouring them beers and drinks when I was like little, like 9.
There's a picture of me, just real quick, because thinking about that, of like you pouring drinks when you were 9. There's a picture of me in a diaper with a Budweiser can and a cigarette in my mouth.
I'm sure. And it's like, that's not good. No. And I remember like when my biological dad and his wife got married, we were young. You know, my parents got divorced when we were young, and we went to the wedding, obviously. And I remember that was the first time because my mom doesn't drink at all, but he did. And I remember, it was the first time I'd ever been around like a big room full of really drunk people. And I was so scared. And I remember thinking like, this is really scary. I'm scared. I was little. I was like, where's my brother? I need to like protect him. And that's when I knew that it was bad, but I wanted to do it still because it was fun. And I was like, but they're laughing, but then they would yell, and it was like all this stuff. But at the time I was like, oh, this is cool. So then you pair, I don't eat, but I do drink. Yeah. And then when I was in high school, that's what I did. Yeah. And so that was I started like really seriously drinking when I was a freshman in high school. Yeah. And that lasted really seriously until I moved to Utah, and it was a dry county. But when I say, like I had a fake ID. Everyone knew that I had a fake ID. My directors knew that I had a fake ID. I was running around drinking all the time. I was drinking at work, drinking before work, drinking after work. And it was like seriously a problem. And I don't think that I also knew it was a problem.
That's what I was going to ask. Did you ever know? Because like I didn't know until I look back now.
I didn't know until I moved to Utah, and it was a dry county, and I couldn't get my hands on it, that I was like, what do you guys do here for fun? Like so in Utah, they don't have a lot of bars, but they have like soda shops. So like the girls would be like, I'm going to get a drink with my friend. And I'm like, where are you going? And they're like, so delicious. And I'm like, are you getting a soda? Oh, like what? Wow. You're not getting like a beverage, like a wine or like a whatever. And I didn't necessarily think it was a problem, but moving to Utah was the first time that I was like, oh, I'm curious. Oh, but you guys have so much fun, and you live this life, and you have friends, and you have boyfriends, and you do all these things, and you don't drink alcohol. That's crazy. What does that look like? And I moved there when I was 21. So from like 14 to 21, I drink a lot. And I know that is so young, and people are probably like, oh, please, like how much could you drink? No, seriously. It was like a lot. I was in high school, and I was drunk at high school, like in the classroom.
In class. Oh, yeah.
And it was like,
we used to put vodka in water bottles.
Yeah. And like, that's bad.
It's terrible.
So bad.
Yeah.
And I don't like talk about it a ton because it's like embarrassing, and also just kind of, I don't think people also understood, at that time too, I was dealing with a lot with my family. I was dealing a lot with like my parents, and then my brother had just gotten sick, and like all these things were happening. And I don't think anyone that went to high school with me would know, except for maybe this one like boyfriend that I had at the time. I don't think anyone knew though how serious it was. And I did not care. I was missing school. I didn't care. And, and I was like young and fun, and I was like a cute girl, and it was like, what are you going to say no to me? No. Yeah. And then I just kept going. And then it wasn't until, like I said, I moved to Utah that I became sober because I had to. It just wasn't available. But then I moved to Las Vegas.
I was going to ask, so yeah, and then it's over.
Well, I moved to Vegas, and, you know, Justin and I, my husband and I are together. And at the time, you know, he has his own experience with all of that because of the way he was brought up. But at the time, I was not drinking hardly at all when I lived in Utah. And then I moved to Vegas, and it was everywhere. You could get it at the grocery store. You could get it at the gas station. It was everywhere. And I didn't I didn't go exactly to that same spot, but when our first year as well, first year or two, I was drinking a lot. And it was during COVID then too, and it was like not great. And I think for me, I just was like, I feel like shit and it tastes bad. Like the alcohol is tasting bad. So I'm drinking in and it's not good. Like I lost my appetite. I lost my tolerance for it. I'm like forcing myself to drink this, and then I'm getting sick. This is stupid. And I have to pay for it. You know what I mean? Like I had gone 2 years without drinking hardly anything. And then I came to Vegas and I started drinking immediately. And it was like, this is stupid. And now I want to be a wife and I don't want to do this anymore. And that's kind of where it changed.
Wow.
But I always cared about wellness when I was in beauty school. I went to Aveda's really passionate about wellness. I don't know if you know that. Really passionate about wellness, about sound baths and supplements and yoga and Ayurvedic medicine and holistic approach to wellness and health. And through working with Aveda and being a student, I learned a lot about wellness. I learned everything I know about wellness through them. And I always had that in me, but I could not have cared less because who wants to like wake up to an early yoga class when you could just get like absolutely demolished the night before with your girlfriends?
It would be very hard to live a full like wellness focused life while drinking.
Yeah, it was super hard.
Alcohol.
Yeah. And I also thought that they were crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you guys are like too much. I couldn't even comprehend it.
Yeah.
And that's why it was tough.
And then like supplements and all of that started because you take supplements, right? I mean, I know we like, like take this probiotic and I'm like, you should drink this probiotic. And you're like, you should tape your mouth.
So that is kind of its own conversation for me, which I've literally never talked about, but I will share that with you now that you asked.
Yeah.
I've never talked about this before.
Okay.
So when I lived in Utah, it was like the most unhealthy I've ever been, not from a drinking standpoint, but from like an eating standpoint. Because then you pair, you know, my early teenage years drinking and then my eating habits. You were eating garbage. I was eating nothing. Yeah. And when I say nothing, I mean like I was not eating at all. And not from like a funny haha, but in like I wanted to see how far I could go without eating. That was like my goal all the time. And then when I moved to Utah, I had no accountability because I didn't know anyone. I was there all by myself. And so it was really interesting. Can I go a day without eating? Can I go 3 days without eating? Can I go 4 days without eating? What does that look like? Oh, I feel like I'm about to pass out. Let me eat like a handful. When I worked in Provo, I had one of these like dresser things that had like files and stuff. And sometimes my students would bring me like candy or like little granola bars or like little treats just like because they were cute and they like, I got you a surprise. And I would have like a little bag of like treats and I'd be like, okay, it's been 3 days. Let me have like 2 Starbursts and see how much longer I can go. Or let me have like a string cheese and see how long I can go. And that was the whole time I lived in Utah. And I lost like almost 30 pounds. I was losing chunks of my hair. And I was so skinny, Ryan. It was unrecognizable. If I showed you pictures, you would die. And I've never talked about this before because I was really embarrassed. But the worst part is I thought I had never looked better. And I still, a part of me thinks I've never looked better because I was raised in such a toxic, eating-centered household. Skinny is hot. Nothing will ever taste as good as skinny feels. You will never be as good of a dancer if you're bigger. You will never be as good of anything if you're bigger. Clothes will look better. You will feel better. Can you see some ribs? Like that's all that I have. I've only wanted to ever be skinny up until I got older. But combining that with drinking and with whatever else, it's like really bad. It was really dangerous. And so I didn't care about any of that because my vice was like starving myself, which is like kind of sad. But that didn't stop until, honestly, until Justin and I started dating. And he was like, I actually can't be with you if you're going to be like this. It actually was a huge fight when we first started dating.
Was he very health conscious when you guys met?
No,
okay.
Not at all. No, he was like running around being crazy, doing whatever he wanted. And he has like comparatively wellness education. He has nowhere near my level of knowledge about like infusions or supplements or whatever. Oh, the supplement thing. That's where this started.
Yeah.
When I moved to Vegas, I started having to take a pre and probiotic because I started eating again, and my digestive system was so destroyed that I was having a really, really, really hard time adapting back to food because my body couldn't handle the nutrients. And so, which is like so sad. I'm not kidding. I never talk about this. I moved back to Vegas and, immediately we're going to Sunday family dinners with this family. We're going to dinners 2-3 times a week with this family. We live together, so he's aware of if I'm not eating, he's going to ask me, what'd you have for lunch? What are we having for dinner? And I couldn't get away from it because I had this accountability that I had never had before. And so I started being in excruciating pain when I would eat because my body couldn't digest anything. I was so bloated. I wasn't able to eat and that's really common actually. When people come back,
your body's just not used to it.
Yeah. And then I wasn't eating healthy things.
Yeah,
I was eating not eating for a week and then eating pasta. And that's not good for you. Your stomach is this big, but I would just be eating because I didn't want people to know.
Yeah.
And it was just so toxic. So the supplement started because I needed to take a pre and probiotic to help me flush things out and to help my digestive system work, because for the last 2.5 years, it didn't work. It didn't have to. I only drank things. I didn't chew hardly anything. And that was tough. It was tough on my dental. It was tough on my body. It was a big deal.
Did you feel bad during that time? Did
I feel
what
poorly?
was your mental and how did you feel? Your day-to-day energy and all of that?
Oh, I had zero energy, but I was drinking a lot of caffeine at the time as well.
So it was just,
and I was just on level 10 energy 24/7 because I was drinking 4 or 5 coffees a day and eating nothing.
Did you get sick a lot?
I was sick all the time. I was throwing up all the time. I remember this one time I was driving to work and I had just eaten half of a green apple because it had been a couple days. And I was like, I should eat something. And the acid from the apple made me so violently ill. I was throwing up lime green stomach bile for 2.5 days. And it was excruciating. And so that's where I was something has to change. And then Justin and I start dating and we get married and whatever. And before that, but when we start dating and we move in together, he was the one that really sat me down and was him and Jordan, his sister actually. And both of them were almost had an intervention. And both of them were we won't be in your life if you're going to do this still. You have to stop. And it was hard because I was
yeah,
this is all I know. And so sometimes it is still hard. And sometimes it is, I would lie if I said that hasn't always been a part of my life, and it won't always be, but through different wellness practices from really 2020 to now has totally changed my life. And now I do believe still I'm the strongest I've ever been. I'm the hottest I've ever been. My hair has grown back. My everything is back to normal, and I'm the healthiest I've ever been. And that's what matters.
From an alcohol standpoint, because we were talking about alcohol, you're like I am, I think, right? Just occasional.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
you don't not drink, but you don't, it's not a big part of your life.
So I was legit sober for about 1.5 years.
Okay.
And then I stopped for no reason other than I just felt like I didn't need to keep doing that anymore. Which is silly. And I probably should always be, to be totally honest. I should probably just be someone that's always sober because I'm just better that way. I'm a better wife. I'm a better friend. I'm a better sister. I'm a better employee. I'm a better leader when I'm not drinking. And I do think that it is genetic, part of it, because I just have seen it my whole life. And I don't know. I do think it is. I don't know if there's other science that backs that up. I know people talk about it, but I've always said, I've never counted my days. I'm 5 days sober, 10 weeks, 20, 200 days. But I've always said, I'm just not going to drink today. I'm just not going to drink today every morning until I decided I'm going to stop saying that. And then I decided, I actually think I am going to drink today. And that's slippery slope.
I'm going to go totally off rail.
Do it.
But it does have to do with, I guess, wellness and what we're talking about. But it totally makes sense. When you come to counting days, you know how you have people that like legit deal with addictions or alcohol or whatever, and you're like counting the days, right? And that's what Jenna and I would do is we're like, okay, we're 2 weeks without alcohol.
Right.
You know, and you would tell people that. Like, hey, do you want to go get a drink? No, I'm 13 days without alcohol. You people were like, I'm 5 years clean. But what you will notice is that the success rate of people remaining that way is very low. They always end up folding. And I heard something one time that made so much sense. And it was Tony Robbins. And he said that the reason like you don't realize that you keep yourself in a cycle by counting days. So he's like, so for an example, like if you are trying to, like we're talking about alcohol or even drugs, right? If you're like, all right, you're trying to quit alcohol, as long as you're counting your days or you're saying I'm 2 years sober or this or that, you're still attaching your identity to it. Therefore, you will always be a part of your identity. And what he says is that the mind trick to truly escape it is, if you're going back to alcohol, is I don't drink.
Yeah.
You completely detach your identity with it. And when you completely detach your identity from something that you no longer want to do instead of counting it, that it rewires your brain after a certain amount of time. And then after you say it so many times, you begin to believe that. And now your identity is, I don't do that.
Right.
Like I don't smoke.
Yeah.
And then it completely rewires you to not even care or completely, which makes a lot of sense to me. I know it's completely off the rails, but,
no, but it is.
Started thinking about that.
There is something too about just your mental, regardless when you're doing something like this, because it is so mental. And for me, it's always been the like war within my mind. And it's always been like making those decisions so day to day. And that's hard because when you're on the other side and you are not drinking and you're doing all these wellness things, you do feel so much better.
It's a fact.
It's so, life couldn't get any sweeter. And I don't know why we go back. I don't know what it is. It is, but like you said earlier, it is covering something up. It is numbing something.
Yeah.
And maybe, everyone numbs things differently, whether it's from that or, eating or whatever. People starve themselves and that's their punishment all the time, or people eat a ton and that's their punishment too, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's lot. That's,
so many
it's
different.
Heavy, and there's a lot that comes with it. And then my thought is always, you have one body, like just be nice to it.
You only get it one time. And going back to like the working in healthcare thing and the hospice thing is like, you do only get one shot. And I think that's what really cleaned me up, because I started thinking like at the age of 30, like, all right, so the average I think statistically the average age to live to is like 75. Mm-hmm. So you got to think like, all right, if you're in your early 30s, you're halfway through this race.
That's so crazy.
Like, and I don't think we think about things like that, but that will really change you, right? Yeah. And I started like thinking that way, where it's like, dang, I'm in here and this person's on hospice and they're like in their 70s. Like I'm halfway there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when you look at them, you're just like, they did not take care of themselves.
Right.
And then thinking back, like my childhood was different. It was fried, dinner was like fried okra with fried chicken, with fried macaroni and cheese, and it was just like these huge plates. And it's like, you better eat everything.
Yeah.
And you got to eat this all day. And the whole closet was just full of like sodas. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't drink water.
Yeah, that's so
I didn't
crazy,
drink
Ryan.
water till like the past 6 years.
Yeah, that's so
I
crazy.
never bought a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Like ever even thought about it or considered it. But I think that that's one thing too, is like realizing like, dang man, like if you're 30 years old, you're
seriously
you're halfway to 60.
Stop saying that.
And it goes so fast, right?
It does go so
it's why
fast.
it's just so important, I think, like to because now, even at my age of 41, I can tell you that right now, I feel better, more energy, better sleep, more clarity, more focused than I ever did in my 20s.
Yeah. Well, and there is something too, just about like the haze, and you will relate to this because since I've known you, you have had a day that you've drank like earlier this year.
Yeah.
That the feeling the next day, and then when you get older, like, you know, I mean, Ryan, you're a bit older than me, but when you get older, it actually lasts for 2 or 3 days.
It does.
And then now so let's say you go out on Saturday or Sunday or whatever, then you're feeling like shit on Sunday and Monday. And then maybe still kind of on Tuesday. And then you're like finally coming back to life on Wednesday. You're catching up from the last 2 days. But now the week's almost over. And it's like, what, you blew your whole week? You lost a whole week of your year.
The value of a day.
I know.
We overlook so much.
I know.
Like the value of a day, we overlook so much. And that time that you're talking about, which probably was the last time that I drank.
I think it was.
Yeah. And that was
in what, January?
Yeah. So
it was before IBS.
7 or 8 months ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I went out, we were at an event and I was like, you know what? I'm going to have some drinks. And I drank that night. And the next day.
I'm sorry, for the next few days.
Yeah. But like even the next day, like I just remember the next day I left.
Right.
I left work. Like I'll never get that day back.
Right.
Ever again.
Right. And then it's like what you said with you and Jenna fighting. It's like, it's embarrassing. You're like texting and you're like drama and you're like nothing
over
feels
nothing.
real, like for no
You'll
reason.
Just make up some stuff.
Yes.
Because it's that we're covering stuff up, right? So now all of a sudden I'm fighting with somebody probably from something that's coming up from when I was 10 years old, right. Because totally. I've buried it so much.
Totally.
And it's a real thing. And I think that I do feel like though that I feel like society as a whole is getting more aware. I did read that more people have quit drinking and giving up alcohol than like that's ever good. Before.
Yeah. And you should, because seriously, it's really bad for you.
It's so bad.
It really is. And
it's so bad. And we justify it when you drink, you know, like I think about that with weed. I'm like, listen, totally. It makes you creative.
Right. Oh no.
It's so good for you, you know, and you make this stuff up and it's like the alcohol.
No, it's actually
same thing.
So bad.
And we'll tell ourselves like, I don't have a problem with it. Well, do you really not have a problem
until you're at
with
work and that's all you can think about because you had a bad day?
Yeah, or like you can't wait till Friday night so you can go out to the bar. Right. And then if you really want to know if you have a problem, cool, go to the bar and don't drink alcohol.
Right.
And if you can survive through that with no friends, problem, then hey, you maybe absolutely don't have a problem. But if you can't do that and you can't go have a good time and you can't hang out, then you probably have a problem and you just don't know it. Like that's the way it is. We just think it's like it's not a problem when the reality is it really is. Not to mention it's just straight poison.
And it's expensive.
It's so expensive. We did do an app.
Yeah, that's
we did a money saving app.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it was wild too cuz when we were first together, I told you this, we were broke.
Right.
Right? Like so broke. Right. Like power cut off like but we always had money for beer.
That's what I'm saying.
Or liquor. And that's crazy.
Well, and that's what I want to touch on when we talk about wellness things. I know some people think it's so woo-woo and like, oh, it's too expensive. Yeah, but have you seen how much a mixed drink costs nowadays? Like a cocktail is wild. Like $18 or $24. And it's like, yeah, you're telling me, but you don't have $30 to take like a blood test or you don't have whatever, like fill in the blank with whatever money to do something else. No, you do. You're just using it differently.
Correct.
And that's something that in like my wellness journey, I'm like, oh, the what I'm willing to invest is the threshold is much more because I'm like, I know the difference between going out and being crazy and spending money on that versus healthier options and wellness based options. And if I had the money for, you know, slutty crop tops and tequila shots back then, I definitely have the money for an LED mask, you know, that's going to make me feel better.
Another way to look at it too, because sometimes, well, she doesn't do it anymore, but like, again, I was knowledgeable about like the supplement side of things and I take all of my supplements on a regular basis. And so when Jen and I first started doing that, it's expensive.
It is.
You know, so I would go to the store, like if I go to Chamberlain's, you know, I might spend $150, $200. And at first she doesn't think that way now, but she would be like, you're spending this on us to have vitamins. I'm like, wait, do you know how much cheaper this is
seriously.
Than the future of hospital bills that come when you don't
absolutely
supplement and when you don't, because there's nowhere else for us to get these these supplements. Like our food is not nutritious, right? So it's like all of this stuff that we have to have, like vitamin D and magnesium, all this. You aren't getting that anywhere.
Right.
Like our water does not have minerals in it like it's supposed to.
So walk me through like an average day, like your ideal day if you're following all of your wellness practices. And this is maybe like what your dream day, what you strive to achieve, right? Because I have my dream day that I try to achieve versus sometimes what actually happens during the day.
Yeah, it's hard.
But if you because it is hard and is a lot. But if you had the perfect day and you were like, this is what I do that makes you feel my best, what does that look like from when you wake up to when you go to bed? Tell me what that looks like.
Morning, like if it's step by step.
Step by step.
For
I want to know all the details.
Morning time, immediate room temperature glass of water with Himalayan salt. You're dehydrated when you wake up. That always makes me feel good. Then ideally I'm still a big, not the breakfast. I'm not a huge believer in breakfast. I don't think technically, and again, science, there's so much data that's going to tell you I'm right and wrong. I don't like to eat first thing in the morning. I don't think it's good to put your body to work first thing in the morning. So water, and then me time, which I'm very, very, very strict about. That is something that Jenna knows it. For the first hour of my day, I'm not looking at work. I'm not opening emails. I'm not work. That's my time. And it would be manifesting, right?
Your journal.
One thing that I hate that I don't do more that I was so good about is the Somadome. Yeah. Definitely going to the gym when we go to the gym in the morning time. And then taking my supplements at the end of the day, and then just making sure that I'm eating a good meal. I'm not always the best at eating during the day, but that's always a battle too, because I am typically, there's a purpose behind it. But taking my supplements, my magnesium, my vitamin D. And I can tell you one other thing. I used to get sick all the time, every year, constantly. I had colds. Bronchitis was every single year. Colds, fevers a few times a year, 102, 103, a flu.
Yeah.
There was not a year that went by that I didn't get that. And I have not been sick since COVID.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I had been sick. So I've been sick once in 6 years.
Yeah.
And COVID, we knocked out in 72 hours through 100% natural supplements.
Right.
Elderberry, high doses of vitamin C.
Right.
A lot of elderberry. A lot of vitamin D3. And a lot of electrolytes.
Yeah.
And it was gone in 72 hours.
Right.
And so I really do believe in supplements. I really, 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 really do. And Jenna was the same way. She used to be sick all the time.
Really?
And she does not get sick. And I really know it's because of the supplements we take.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. So anyway, my perfect day would just be that. Just making sure that I'm, I do drink a lot of water. My kombucha.
You love kombucha.
It's very important because it's changed my life.
Yeah.
Right? It's changed my life. I know it has. I don't have the stomach issues that I had, and it has to be kombucha because it was the one thing that I started that once I started it, I noticed a difference. My food has gotten a lot better. I've tried a lot of different fads and
Remember when
phases
you did
of
a
food.
water cleanse for like 4 days?
Yeah, I still will do that. I've committed to do that once a year.
When are you going to do your next one?
I don't know. I'll do it this year. I may do it when we get off the cruise.
I bet you'll want to do a cleanse.
That's not the first time I've done that. But
really?
Yeah, no, when it comes to like fasting,
You like to fast?
I don't like it. When you read the science and what happens to your body doing a 4-day water fast, it's just, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. It is good to give your system a break.
So, and I wish I had the facts. I'm going to show you the video, but there's a video of Gary Brecka where he explains what happens to your body if you do a 4-day water fast. And
I think you did show me this actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you can literally
even
just
on a cellular level, right?
That's the main thing, right?
I think
it's
you
like
have shown me this before.
Your cells completely regenerate. The body releases all of the toxin. Like there's so many things. You can literally just Google or YouTube benefits of 4-day water fast, and you will be mind blown of the stuff that happens to the body. And it's like, why wouldn't you?
Sure.
It's not terribly hard.
Right.
I mean, obviously, it's all mental.
Yeah,
it's so mental.
It's discipline.
It's discipline. It's mental, but it's just basically you drink electrolytes because that's important, and you drink a lot of water. I still kept some black coffee.
Yeah.
Which you can do. There's different levels to it. You can completely eliminate the coffee, or you can limit yourself to 8 ounces of black coffee throughout the day. So I did I kept coffee in it, but I would just take a few sips in the morning and then a few sips in the afternoon and a few sips at night to just kind of help me. But I felt great. Was it hard? I mean, a little bit. It's just mentally hard.
Yeah.
You just want to just eat.
Totally.
But I survived completely fine.
Yeah.
I felt by the third day, dude, you're just like on a whole nother level of energy.
Yeah.
That
I know.
I can't ever, like, the energy that I felt in 3 days after water fasting, I can never get that type of energy back.
You're haunting.
And calmness, like
that's what I was going to say. You were. I'm like, are you okay? Energy. You were so calm. It was crazy.
It's a calm energy.
Yeah, because you have no you had a little bit of black coffee, but you had like no other stimulants.
But then that has to make you think though, like why did my mind get so settled down? Because I'm somebody with 80. My doctor used to tell me, Dr. Saxauer was my doctor for years, and she used to tell me, she's like, Ryan, you're the poster child. Like, you are ADD, and she used to tell me, she's like, your ADD has ADHD. Yeah. So, you have multiple diagnoses. Yeah. So I'm like full-fledged. I embrace it. I love it. I think it's a superpower. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think kids should not be medicated for it. That's a whole nother topic. I think it can be a superpower if you learn how to live with it. But going back to say that as somebody with that on all levels, the water fast was the first time that my mind had ever completely and
calm.
So when you saw me and you're like, what's, because my mind was quiet. My mind was quiet.
I noticed immediately.
But then that makes you think like, well, why do I have this problem?
Totally.
Is it the food?
Totally. Oh yeah. It's definitely not.
It's got to be in something.
Totally.
And I'm not a big stimulant person. I drink 2 coffees a day. But I'm a huge believer in coffee. I don't think that, I do take stimulants. I'm completely lying, but I think on the grand, I think on the grand scale, I don't feel like I take as many. You're the most
stimulated person I know, dude.
But see, I don't know, because I think about it like this, right? Like the average person, at least in today's society, drinks energy drinks. Right?
No, I'm not saying, no. Pause. I'm not saying that your stimulants are bad, but I am saying that you are.
I do stimulate, because I do drink my coffee, right? I do my nicotine.
You love your beverages.
I love my beverages. The only stimulant would be the coffee, right? Kombucha wouldn't be a stimulant.
Your zones, bro.
I was gonna say my nicotine.
Yeah.
But there's so
your
many
Zinner
benefits.
Dinners.
There's so many benefits to
nicotine?
Not tobacco, but nicotine.
Yeah, that's a different episode.
That's an episode that we'll have to get into, but a lot of people that would shock people.
Yeah.
But we're so misfed information.
Yeah.
And we don't, until you really dive into stuff, because that would sound crazy to me, right? And that's not saying that everybody should go do nicotine.
No,
not at all.
No.
But
like
the way I look at it is this, right? It's like, just like alcohol, right? We all, no matter what, it must be in our DNA or it must be part of the human experience. We have dependencies. Mm-hmm. We have things that are our vices, right? So my vices would be nicotine, would be kratom. I'm a huge advocate, and that's a very controversial thing. There's so much mixed information, right? And again, we don't have to go off on that, but it can be very confusing for people, because I've got a page on TikTok that I follow that the guy's a huge advocate, and I got another guy that's like, his whole life's to destroy it. Mm-hmm. But I do one thing about me, I do all my research. I'm a researcher.
Yeah, you both are.
I don't just listen to something. I research it. I've watched every lab study and test on Zen that you could possibly watch for every single flavor. I try to know exactly what's being used in it. So I do really dive into research. But all that to say that, nicotine is a stimulant. It doesn't mean that everybody should do it. There are ways to consume it that's more beneficial than others. So I do that. And then I do the kratom. I don't do any energy drinks. I don't.
No, yeah.
I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. So it's like, you know, what's better, right? It used to be a bottle of Jameson and cocaine to now it's like, man, just give me kombucha, a poppy and a Zen, and I'm good. I feel like that's really, really great for me.
Yeah.
I really do. And I feel great. I feel great with it. I watch that stuff, even the diet, which, you know, I've played with all of the diets. Yeah. I've done everything. Okay, literally.
Is that all that you wanted to share for your day? Because I have a lot of wellness things that I want to
share. And I want to hear some of yours because I am interested in one thing you do. Because I do love to try stuff too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be it.
You have a sauna too. You have a sauna that you sit in.
Oh, the sauna.
Yeah, the sauna is
I said the gym. The sauna is something, again, I have a sauna in the house. I'm a regular in it. Absolutely. Yeah. And then just learning to like winding down at night opposed to, you know, that's something that we try to be very conscious about instead of like falling asleep on the couch. Or scrolling on our phones in bed, just like grab a book, and read a book in bed, and that's really just my little thing, man. It's just like my supplements and stuff. But I want to hear yours, and there's one that I want to learn more about.
Mine's not simple or easy.
Yeah, I know you got a lot going on.
I do have a lot going
on. And I'm interested in two of the things that you do that I'll probably pick up.
Okay, okay, that you know of. You don't even know if you know all the things.
I'm ready to hear it.
So I have a quite extensive wellness routine on my like dream day.
Is it morning and night or just one?
I'm going to take you through the whole day.
Okay, take me through the day. It's the whole day
because they play into each other. So ideally, I wake up at 5:55 every morning, which I do wake up at 5:55 every morning anyway.
Okay.
Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's early, but the minimum is 5:55. There's something about it being 5:55. It makes me feel good. Whatever. Immediately, I wake up and I am in the bathroom and I tongue scrape immediately, and I oil pull with like coconut oil.
Okay.
Then I go to the gym, and I am either lifting weights or doing, it depends, right? Like that is always going to be dependent. I'm still kind of recovering from a shoulder and wrist injury from last year. So sometimes I have to be like really careful. But actually also from that injury is what sparked the bulk of these daily wellness practices, because it was the first time in my life that I wasn't able to like do a lot of things. I was like kind of in the bed for a long time, like laying down because everything hurt. And I remember telling myself, I will never put myself in this position ever again. I want to like take my life by the reins and do these things. So anyway, I'm at the gym doing whatever. I have switched between some sort of like reformer Pilates, bar classes. I love bar classes. And mostly because I used to dance, so it's like really similar. I'm good at them, so I feel good about doing them.
Yeah.
And then recently, within the last like year and a half, like weightlifting in general has like started to become something I'm interested in. I'm gonna have to be careful because I'm still a baby and my shoulder hurts all the time. And then I come home and I do, if I'm taking like a longer shower, if I have time to like blow dry my hair, because I don't wash my hair every day. Like, come for me. I don't care if anyone gets mad. I don't always wash my hair.
I don't even. You're not supposed to.
Well, you're not really supposed to, but some people are really weird about it. So whatever.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
Right. Before I get in the shower, I will dry brush my body, and then I will.
What is dry brush your body?
So I have like a dry brush, like a boar bristle brush. And I will like slough off all, it's very Ayurvedic. I will like slough off all the dead skin through my whole body. It's really good for your lymphatic system. It's good for your circulation. It's good for cellulite. It's good for all of these yummy skin elasticity, collagen production. I do it through my whole body. It's kind of painful because it's really scratchy, but it's lovely. I do it every single morning, preferably. Right, this is my dream day. And then typically I have a metal like body gua sha, basically it's like a stainless steel handheld device, and I will almost gua sha like my body. It's called body scraping, if anyone has never looked into it. But I have a body scraping device, and then I will do the same thing, follow the same pattern after dry brushing and body scrape through my whole body with like an oil or something, and then hop in the shower, do whatever it is I'm doing in the shower. And then when I come out, then I'm like getting ready for the day, hair, makeup, whatever. of course, putting on a kick-ass outfit, obviously. And then I do eat breakfast. I haven't always, but I do. I have, as you know, have been doing my best to kind of follow more of a carnivore-based diet. I did really serious carnivore for 3 weeks, and it was like the best thing I've ever did. And I actually just told Justin last night that I want to start again, really taking it seriously.
After your routine, let's talk about carnivore.
Yeah, we will. Next week, I'm going to do back 100% and really try, because September's next month, and really try the whole month of September, like really take it seriously, like 100%. This last round I did, I still supplemented with a little bit of like cottage cheese or like those types of things. And this time I'm going to like seriously try.
I have some tips.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about it in a second. So then I'm eating like some sort of grass-fed, either sausage or like a bacon or something like that. And then I've done like half an avocado or something like that, or like eggs or like something, at least a little bit in the morning, because I do, I'm usually insatiable by the time that time comes around. And then I have coffee every day too. Like that is like my most favorite part of the whole day. And then I'm like going to work, doing whatever. I don't really have any wellness practices that I'm doing during work really, other than making sure that I am stretching every so often, like when I'm at work, because I'm sitting on my ass all day and like that's not great for you. And I know you caught me doing this yesterday, but there's a lot of times too that I will go outside and take my shoes off and stand in the grass. Sometimes you just need to have my blue light glasses on. I'm like protecting my brain as much as I can. And then when I leave, when I'm kind of winding down for the day, I am really serious about like no phones after like 9:45 or 10. I usually plug my phone in, put it away. I have a Hatch alarm clock, which has like been so lovely. And I'm awoken with a red light, and then I go to bed with a red light. It turns on at the same time. At 5:50 every morning, it turns on, and then at 10 it turns on too. So my body knows when the red light is on, it's time to like wind down. And so then usually like around 10, I go and I'm like in bed. I'm ready for bed. I've washed my face. I've done all my skincare. I've done all my everything else. Cuticle oil, hair oil, whatever.
All of it.
All the oils. And then I'm in bed, I have my red light on, and I am reading. And then typically the last thing I do is I use mouth tape, and I put my mouth tape on, and then I go to bed. And I have an eye mask as well, sleep mask. And then my husband rolls over and he's like, God, you look so ugly. And I'm like, I know. So that's kind of like my dream day.
Do you snooze your alarm, or do you wake up on first alarm?
Typically, if I am working out and I know that I'm going to work out, I will not snooze. I just make myself get up. And you actually have totally changed that, your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. That was you, right?
Yeah.
That has actually totally changed my life, because I used to be like snooze for 30, 40 minutes, like seriously until the last possible second. But that is something that I take. So I go with Kate sometimes, right? Caitlin, to the gym, and this bitch, she wants me there at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
5:15. That means your girl's waking up at like 4:30. That's hard. Okay. Waking up at 4:30 is hard.
Yeah.
So there's times when I've committed to a class that starts at 5 or something that I have to be there at 5. It's 20 minutes away from my house. I have to be up by 4:30. And I'm not like you. I don't need like an hour of me time. Oh my God, I forgot something. I also have a red light mask that I will do at night too. I'm so sorry. I forgot about that. But when those mornings that I have to just go and I know that she's going to be yelling at me if I'm late, when my alarm goes off and I'm like, like so upset, I just tell myself, okay, bitch, you have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you just have to.
You have to.
And then I'm on my way. So that's to answer your question.
All right. And then the tongue scraping. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of benefits to that. I know Jenna actually had just brought up like a few days ago. She's like, we need to buy a tongue scraper. We don't do it. But I can't do anything like that in the morning. I have a very big problem. I do it. Okay. I do this.
You gag.
I'm trying to find a way around it. No, like I have a really big issue even brushing my teeth in the morning. Like it's so hard. And it's gotten to the point where Jenna's just like, dude, like you've got to like, why don't you just take your toothbrush or something to work or something? I'm like, I can't go that long without brushing my teeth. But I have a really hard time brushing my teeth in the morning. Yeah. I just get like, but not even just like my tongue, just like as soon as I brush my teeth, I just get like,
you need to do it.
But like at nighttime, completely fine. I can get all in my mouth.
Yeah, I can't relate to that at all because
it's so
I'm
weird.
like,
so like thinking of waking up in the morning and scraping my tongue.
I don't think you would like it because you're so squeamish. And when you're sleeping, Ryan, when your mouth is closed, your mouth has so much bacteria. And when you're sleeping, all of the bacteria in your gut and through your digestive system lays on your tongue. It's the only place, especially when you're mouth taping, that your body can excrete those types of like pollutants, right? This bacteria. So when you wake up and your tongue is white, that's because it's all bacteria that's been in your gut all night long that's come up, and it's toxic. It's toxins. That's even why like you really need to brush your teeth before you eat anything, because if you have all that shit still in your mouth and in your tongue and then you're eating something, you're creating micro tears in the tooth, in the tongue, from all of that nasty shit, all that bacteria, and it's permeating, and it's not good for you. You really need to be mindful, if that's the best thing I can tell you. But I don't think you'll like it because it's not cool. It's pretty yucky.
I would have to do it at night.
You can't do it. That defeats the purpose.
It defeats the purpose.
I mean, you can do it at night too, but kind of, yeah, because you want to get it all, slough off all of that bacteria as soon as you wake up, because all night it was permeating.
What is the benefits of mouth taping?
Thank you for asking. So I've been mouth taping for 2 years.
Okay. And then just so in case they don't, I see it on TikTok now.
Yeah.
But you
because I'm telling you, everyone in the next 2 years will be doing it, and your girl has
it's
been doing
growing.
it first.
It's a trend that's growing. Yeah. So what, you're obviously putting a piece of certain type of tape.
So there's a lot of options. I've tried them all. And at this moment I'm on literally athletic tape. Like when you were in school and you bummed your knee or whatever, you needed to like line up your knee, or like you got in an accident, you need to move your shoulder, like athletic tape. It's like
I'm going to do notes, by the way. Yeah, I'm not texting on my phone. I'm just going to take some notes, and I want to pull up something too while you're talking.
It's I just get it from wherever. I've tried the really expensive kinds. I've tried the blue tape, the pink tapes, whatever. Like I've tried it all. The Skinny Confidential also makes a brand of mouth tape that's pink, for my aesthetic girlies, if that's what they want to get, knock yourself out. But it all does the same thing. It's just sold out all the time, so it's like really hard to get your hands on. But I just take black athletic tape, a chunk. You can either do it long ways or short ways, whichever you prefer, hot dog or hamburger style. And you want to be really careful though after you finish your skincare. I use a lot of facial oils. You want to make sure that area is free of lip balm, facial oils. Use your mouth tape. And it's really incredible for a lot of things. Better sleep, better digestion. There's something to be said about when you're sleeping all night long with your mouth wide open. It's training your jaw to be so sloppy and to be so, it can change the structure of your face. Seriously. There's a book, I'm going to send it to you, that I read a few years ago, like when I started this, that talks about nose breathing versus mouth breathing. It's so much better for your lungs. It's better for your digestion. And for me, when I was dealing with all these stomach problems and digestive issues, I was trying anything to help my stomach, and mouth typing came up as, well, when you're sleeping with your mouth open all day. You're like swallowing air all day. It's bad for you. And so now I take my mouth shut. I sleep better. I feel better. I feel like the whites of my eyes are better. It's been good for me. And Justin makes fun of me for it all the time. I literally don't care.
You don't feel any type of panic?
No.
That's what I worry about.
don't feel like that because I'm someone though who I have a sleep mask and my mouth tape on, and I'm like chilling. I also sleep naked, which we didn't talk about, but that's also so good for you as well, to regulate your body's temperature on its own. There's like a lot that goes with it. So no, I don't usually feel crazy.
So, okay. So let's do, because we've got a lot.
I told you.
There's a lot, right?
But I love these.
I love these conversations because I love this stuff, but I also know
that's really unrealistic if you're starting. Pick two.
But that's what I want to do. But first, I want to talk about one other thing, and then what I want to do. Well, you're the host, but what I would like to do on your podcast is maybe we can give like what our top three, like if So maybe we can do. I want to talk about the carnivore real quick, and then maybe we can give like, all right, if there's two things I want to do that you have.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you what two things I would want you to try. And then maybe we could give like our top two or three things. And then maybe even tips on the alcohol because it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And so maybe like some things that will help. Carnivore. goes against everything we've ever been taught our entire life.
And yeah, I've never felt better.
It's wild.
Mm-hmm. Immediately. Within 3 days, I have never felt better.
I've tried everything.
Me too.
I've done vegan, pescatarian.
Crazy. I was vegan. I was losing all my hair.
Keto, like all of it, right? Like we've done it all. We've done the bodybuilder lifestyle, like all of the stuff. And I have never in my entire life felt better than when I did carnivore, to the point where I do say it's 90% of my lifestyle. Not to say that on a Saturday I still don't want to enjoy a slice of pizza, but 90% of my lifestyle. And right now I'm clean.
I'd say mine right now is probably 70%. And I want to get to 90 as well. I think 90 is good, right? 90 feels fair. I think so too.
So that's what I was going to say. My tips and where I've been trying to find, like, all right, how do I live now?
We need to make another episode about this.
We do.
And we should bring Caitlin too.
Maybe we should. Freak. Maybe we do that.
Yeah.
And so hopefully people like enjoy this type of conversation. But the 30 days of just strict carnivore was the craziest thing. But then part of me also felt like, I don't know if I can necessarily live like this my entire life, because I don't know.
Sure.
There's so many things you do have to watch too, if you're talking about like living like that. Right. I think if you're doing it as a diet, there's probably not a lot of risk, but there's a lot of stuff that you do lose through my research. You know, like I know it's very important. I do, like last night when I was eating my dinner, I drank electrolytes, and there's certain things like fiber that's certain, again, I think it's important on the supplement side, but I'm starting to like fine tune, like what is my daily life look like? Majority of it. And then of course I'm not going to go and say, I'm never going to eat a slice of pizza. I'm never going to have a cinnamon roll. Like that's stupid. It's just really reducing that stuff. But one of the things I was going to say with the breakfast is there's so much data in intermittent fasting, and the window is 16 hours, right? To really accomplish it, your body needs to have 16 hours with no food. But if that's not possible for somebody, making fruit-based foods the first meal of the day, I think whether you're intermittent fasting or you're doing carnivore or anything, is the best thing to do. So maybe like this carnivore thing that you're doing where you're like, all right, I want to get back on it, but I don't, you're kind of getting into a lifestyle. Starting your first day meal of the day with something fruit-based, whether it's like, me personally, I would just like a bowl of fruit with honey on it. Blueberries, strawberries, everything that ends in berry, honey on it. But like yesterday here, I went and got an acai bowl. But it was the closest thing I could get. But I've learned like having fruit and then having my carnivore.
Yeah, because it is a lot.
At night.
It is hard.
Is so, like, I feel so optimized.
Yeah.
Like so optimized. It's crazy.
Yeah. Did you look something up on your phone that you were going to tell me?
I did, but it's actually for something that when we give our tips, I want to go back to. But anyway, the carnivore's got a lot of controversy around it.
Yeah.
But I can't deny the look. Like it's
do it.
It's wild.
Everything that we might have to cut this out, but I was going to say everything the government tells you to eat the opposite.
Listen, don't get me. That's a whole nother episode that we could probably talk
Eat
about.
Eat the eggs, babe. It's worth it.
But really,
I know.
Because they tell you to stay away from everything that's good.
I know.
But that's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, the carnivore stuff is crazy.
No, it's so
I've
good.
And
as someone, I've obviously talked a lot about how I've had a lot of stomach issues just in general. For a bulk of my life, this is the first time ever I've been, when did I really start? Like August? I think that was my first full month that I committed to it. I have never had zero bloating ever. I wake up and breathe in the morning. I'm bloated because I have so many other challenges, which I probably should look into more. It's the first time in my entire life that I end the day. I even thought about it last night. I went to bed last night because we've been a bit better over the last couple of days, specifically myself, because I just know the results. It's hard to do something different when you know that it's going to make you feel better.
It's hard.
And it was funny. I was going to bed last night and I was like looking at the mirror. I was actually picking out my outfits for today. And I was like, it's so crazy that it's 10 p.m. right now. And I look not inflamed, not swollen, not fat. I look, I've been in the gym. I have like a little bit of an ab situation and I'm like,
this is crazy.
It's 10 p.m. And usually I would be looking more pregnant than Jenna.
I know, like, now that I'm like, I've cleaned up, because I never really fell fully off, but I've been trying this now for, I think, 3 months.
Right.
Pretty consistently.
Right.
I had some weeks where I would go off and on, but now I'm back on it. And it's something like even Jenna, like, multiple times a day.
I noticed it. We both noticed
like,
each other.
Yeah, it's
I
wild.
noticed immediately. I noticed in a couple weeks with you, and you noticed almost immediately with me. You were like, your arms looking kind of small. I'm like, no, I know.
And I haven't even been in the gym the past few days. And like last night, Jenna's like, what's going on with your stomach? And I'm like, but one other thing too, I've realized about it is I'm never hungry and I'm never full.
That's so real, Ryan. That's
like,
so
I never
real.
feel like, oh God, I'm so full, but I'm never either like, I'm so hungry, I'm going to die. Yeah, no, it's wild.
I know.
So that might, again, I think having Caitlin.
I think we should, because Caitlin, she's way more than us.
The last thing I'll say about it is every other thing I tried, or anytime you do a diet, you hate it.
Right.
And I can't wait to get off of it.
Right.
This one made me really think about how I want to live the rest of my life.
I have a steak every day.
Yeah, it made me change.
I have a steak all to myself with dippy eggs drizzled all over it every night.
It's been the first thing that's eliminated most of me wanting to go back. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I feel so good. I know. I love it so much where I'm like, I don't want to stop this. And that's the first time I've ever encountered that in my life. Like, it's the first time it really makes me second guess when I do want a burger or when I do want a pizza, where I'm like, all right, do I really want this right now? Because I don't want to mess up how I feel and what's happening.
And that's why part of it was so tricky for me this month, because August was obviously a really crazy month for me. I didn't really have a ton of opportunity just with what was going on. I didn't there aren't steaks in the hospital. There aren't those types of options. So that's where it's tricky. But what I'm looking forward to in September is how can I prevent that as much as possible? What can I bring on my own? What can I prep on my own? I'm down to do the prep work, but what does that look like so I can feel like this? Because I'm going to take September so seriously, physically, that I am just so excited. Yeah. I'm seriously so excited. Okay.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. What are your 2 things? And then I'll quickly go over my 2 things. Actually, I have my 2 things first.
I was actually going to say, too, we should do like a little trade. I'll pick up 2 tips if you pick up 2 tips.
We should do 2 for like for the month of September.
The number one thing that, and I almost forgot it until you brought it up, is the sauna.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you do it.
That is what I was going to say initially, that I want to do that. No,
so that's what I pulled up, because people don't understand the data behind the sauna.
Right.
And I pulled it up to make sure that I didn't misguide here, but there's studies, it's proven that doing the sauna 4 to 7 times per week, this is what it does, just on a surface level, not even on the inside. You automatically reduce your chances of a stroke by 47%.
Wow.
You reduce your chance of any type of hypertension or cardiac by 46%. Automatically.
How long are you in there for?
It depends on the sauna. Like the gym sauna is a lot hotter than mine, right?
Oh, it is.
So like I try to stand there until I can't anymore. And then what I'll do... Is that
like 5 minutes or is that like 20?
I can do about 10 to 15 in a gym sauna. And then what I do is I'll go work out, and then at the end, I end with another 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, you do too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do 2. At the house, I do 35 minutes.
Yeah, but that
my sauna gets up to like 165, so I can max out about 30 minutes. The gym's is like 180.
Okay.
So it's a difference in temperature.
Okay.
So you reduce your chance of a heart attack in your older age by 46%.
That's crazy.
Okay. Not only that, but studies have shown that you reduce, there's evidence that regular sauna use can reduce the chance of getting dementia and Alzheimer's disease by 65%.
That's crazy. Dementia runs thick in my family.
So the summary is, by doing the sauna 4 to 7 times per week, you reduce cardiovascular disease by 50%. You reduce chances of a stroke at 61%. Mind you, those are the 2 things that kill people more than anything. Right. Heart, right? So you're cutting your chances in half by just a sauna.
I'll do it.
Well, I'm telling this to the people too. 40% reduction in all-cause mortality risk, and 65 and 66% reduction in dementia and Alzheimer's disease. That's data.
Okay, I'll do it.
That's wild. So just 4 to 7 times in a sauna. So sauna would be number 1.
Okay.
And number 2, outside of supplements would be the mind time, your you time mentally, whether it's reading a book, whether it's piddling on something that you enjoy, or whether it's manifesting. Obviously some are better than others, but having time in your own space to do something that brings you joy is very, very important.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to my mic. What's your two?
What I started doing just recently, and actually Jordan brought it up to me, and so I've been doing it, is she has this note on her phone, and it's called Good Things That Happened to Me. And I've been doing it for the last week, and every day I've been writing before I go to bed, like one thing good that happened to me in the day next to it. That's small, but that's a big deal for me. I don't do any of that. And so if you're listening, that might maybe start with that too, because that's easy and can be good for you.
We could have so many branch off episodes of individual topics here.
Literally.
We could do a whole episode on manifesting.
Oh, we should.
Anyway, what's the other one?
Okay, mine would probably be mouth tape. Seriously, I'm a huge advocate for it, and I've done it for
I'm
years.
going to try it.
You should.
I'm committing to. I'm going to try it.
Okay, good. I'll bring you some.
That's the one I'll do if you do the sauna.
Yeah, okay.
Deal?
And then my second one would probably be using my LED mask.
That's the other one I wanted to ask you about, and you didn't mention it.
So I forgot when I was going through, because I don't do it every day. I only do it a couple times a week.
Is it not something you do every day, or you just don't do it every day?
I'm sure you can, but I don't do it every day.
Okay.
But I've been doing it. I've been in it. My thing has a 10-minute. It goes for 10 minutes only. It's like different than ours, obviously, or not as cool as the one that we have. But I've used it as like my 10-minute, like no phone, no nothing time before I go to bed, and then I'll like start doing everything else. But what I like about it is it has like an eye hole, but you can't really see out of it that good. So you're forced to sit there. You can't be on your phone. You can't be doing other things really, because it kind of hurts your eyes if you're staring at the lights. I've only been doing that for a month. I've only had it for about a month, but I have noticed, first of all, I have noticed a huge difference in my skin just in general, but more than anything, it's allowed me to have like habitat, like creature habit of, this is my time to think. This is my time to have a moment. This is my like alone time. This is my like big brain moment. I've done it in the morning a couple times. It depends on what workout I'm doing. So if you have one, do it in the morning too. The days that I do it in the morning though, I love, because I can go to the gym, take a shower, and then I do it right after the shower, and then I go do my makeup and stuff. But I do think it's made a huge difference.
That was the second one. I want to try it. I want to get one.
You should. I'll send you the link to the one I have.
I want to get one.
It's great.
So there's so much here. I feel
like we just scratched the surface. We've been talking for hours.
This could have been a 6-hour podcast. So I'm sorry. Like the viewers may be like, what just happened? We started off with like
we have to do
food to alcohol.
We have to do part 2.
I think the moral of the story would be to pay attention to your health and take care of yourself. And because
you only have one body. You
only have one life and one body.
And treat it well. And don't wait till you're older to do it. I'm not that old. I'm not as old as Ryan. So I'm grateful that I found this out earlier. But it's so much hotter and cooler to take care of yourself than to get out and go crazy and drink and be crazy.
And I do have a little like testimony to it, I guess, because between my 20s and 30s, I spent a lot of time in doctors, EKGs, hospitals, sick. Like there was a lot. I was not healthy I just did the full round of health stuff. And the doctor told me, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Cause your age where you're at we don't see this often, but I'm saying that to say that too, you can like, it changes, right? It's like, you can stop it before it gets
Absolutely.
to a bad
it's never
place,
too late.
Right?
Well, it is too late at some point.
It is at some point, but like if you're in that,
fix it.
Yeah, before it gets too late. But it's like important to stop it now. So
totally.
But I love this stuff.
I know, me too.
Talk about this stuff so much. Like I want to talk about so many things.
I know. We need to make.
Like I got the mic in my hand. Like we'll go Joe Rogan on you guys with the Petal Talk podcast.
3-hour podcast. Maybe we do. Honestly.
Yeah, we may have to do a part 2 where we go a little bit longer.
Sure.
Maybe the viewers can give us feedback if this is
if
a
anyone
good
has any questions
podcast
or comments or something. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming back just so we could chat about this.
Yeah.
Our greatest passion. Do Do you want to share your Instagram, where to find you? I know he's already been on, but again, for those who might be new.
The Ryan McNutt.
The Ryan McNutt.
On Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. Follow the Rose, Petal Talk, all of it.
Follow me, follow your girl at Allie Mae Babe. Duh.
Yep.
You can see pictures of me in my LED mask on my Instagram.
Yep. Yeah, we'll put the links in the description.
Yeah.
But you're killing it with the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
So it's been a fun project. I'm glad I get to be a part of all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. That it's me and you run this.
This is our podcast.
We run this. So you're just the talent. I'm the producer. And it's been so much fun.
It has been a lot of fun. I'm glad
that the feedback. So
yeah, me too.
Hopefully this one was cool for people.
Hopefully this one beats your first one.
Yeah. So yeah.
Give it some love, guys.
We'll wrap us up, host. Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you on our next episode. And take care, guys. Bye.
Peace. Can I drop them?
They're yours.